What's the good word, It's your boy DKB here. So Luke Kuechly, future Hall of Famer, former All-Pro. He was asked about the New York Jets and kind of the struggles that he would see from a defensive perspective with the offense and why a lot of these teams are at an advantage when they're game planning against us. And it got me thinking, obviously the recent Robert Saleh firing, you have replacing a defensive-minded head coach with another defensive-minded head coach in Jeff Ulbrich. And so you don't expect a ton of changes offensively, although for what it's worth, he's mentioned investigating everything, right? And I can't say it's any different than what we've heard from Robert Saleh, but there seems to be a bit of enthusiasm around Jeff Ulbrich coming up, so that at least is good. But from the perspective of what it means bringing in a guy like Jeff Ulbrich, a lot of the conversation hasn't been around what he can do to necessarily fix it, but what does bringing him in fix right now? And the biggest answer is it's an energy component, right? But hearing Luke Kuechly's comments, I think it's pretty clear that while we may see a boost, right? Maybe some better production, maybe that doesn't necessarily lead to points. There's still a ton of significant things that we actually need to see Jeff Ulbrich try to find a way to address. And so coming off of a lot of the rumors around what happened, 24 to 48 hours before Robert Saleh ultimately got fired, with some of those conversations being he was looking to demote Nathaniel Hackett and promote Todd Downing to play calling duties, let alone potentially whatever other offensive changes from, a roster standpoint he wanted to make. It got me thinking. So listening to Luke Kuechly's comments, right? You hear about what he thinks about the New York Jets offense, right? He talked about the fact that he still thinks Aaron Rodgers can play, still sees the arm strength, still sees his ability to go out there and be able to process things at the line of scrimmage, but ultimately having a guy chuck 50 balls out there, no matter if you're 20, no matter if you're 40, is never a good idea and generally probably isn't going to be a recipe for success, right? But specifically with the offense, that Aaron Rodgers offense is sit back, let them figure out what's going on with the defense. Where's rotation? Are they playing one high, two high versus where the NFL kind of is now, where these new offense, there's shifts, there's motions under center, causing confusion with defenses, getting defenses moving pre-snap. And you've seen it a ton. It's one of the reasons why Miami was able to just completely decimate us left and right. Not only do they have a extreme version of speed on their team with, the Tyreek Hills and the Waddles, and of course everybody that lines up in their backfield, to help take advantage of the fact that you can't just press a guy at the line of scrimmage or line up and wait to see, what kind of matchup you're getting. You're able to disguise and maneuver things and shift it pretty well. So coming off of Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show and mentioning he's at least open to the idea of whatever necessary changes need to occur for Jeff Ulbrich to see success that Robert Saleh hasn't seen so far through 5 weeks, where the conversation is at least plausible right now, right? So the offense that they run in New York is a little bit more stagnant, a little bit more from the gun, and all these defensive coordinators now have the ability to game plan, send blitzes at certain angles, understanding where the run game's going based on where the backs lined up. And I think you see a ton of that, right? Once again, we're in situations where it often looks like the box is loaded for Breece Hall, and it's not specific to us not being able to really have an effective passing game so much, because Aaron Rodgers can still be deadly as we've seen, but it's more so just the fact that it's been proven if you blitz this New York Jets offense, it's going to cause some issues for the offense in terms of recognizing stunts, recognizing who needs to correctly pick up. You've seen Breece Hall and his missed assignments. You've seen just some guys cleanly get beat or clear open lanes, and that leads to a number of other issues, right? Rodgers having to speed up his already extremely low processing time and getting the ball out. I think, a couple weeks ago he was at 2.43 seconds or so getting the ball out of his hands, which at that point was the fastest of his career. And then Kuechly goes on to say, I'd rather a team come out and be stagnant than be a Kyle Shanahan offense, where he mentions the motion and things that puts on the opposing defense to adjust and communicate and be able to, really handle things on the back end. So No need to get into it in this video per se, but we know there's a laundry list, an extremely long line of items that Jeff Ulbrich would need to address. Can he do it in an extremely quick turnaround that was surprising to him is yet to be seen. But will the energy alone be good enough to get guys, we've heard accountability in the days since Robert Saleh has been fired, and I don't think anybody's not saying that Saleh didn't hold guys accountable, whether he's shown that openly or not, but it's mainly the fact that there seems to be, of course, since, the guy that as many players called out, 80% plus of the roster has been handpicked by Robert Saleh. So to see him go out get let out the door early, where the season is still very much in play for the Jets, had to have been eye-opening for some of these players. And of course, there's going to be some business decisions that need to be made by guys that maybe doesn't have the same allegiance to Ulbrich or whatever the case is. But I wanted to speak to this because it's not like Luke Kuechly is saying anything that we haven't heard or haven't seen ourselves. But we have to understand that this is going to be a process with Jeff Ulbrich. So if the first step is just changing the energy, I'm perfectly fine with that, right? If we can see some kind of spark, which you normally get in these kind of changes, great, right? But I do want to see if there's any kind of tangible difference in game planning, right? Is there any strong shifts that we're seeing, right? Well, we see more of a Malachi Corley coming up against this game with the Bills. What is Ulbrich's spin, right? We still don't know what he's going to do as far as defensive coordinator role, game calling the plays as a defense, and really what kind of CEO style coach or traits that he's going to bring to being a head coach. So we'll see if he can take it all in stride. I'm definitely rooting for him. It would be nice to see the Jets have a plan that actually worked, right? You bring in a GM agrees with the head coach that he brings in, similar timelines, you groom this roster. All of that would have been great, but ultimately what matters is the wins. What matters is success in reaching the postseason, and hopefully, not just having a conversation about us finally entering, but us doing some damage during the postseason. So let me know what you guys think. Personally, low level wise, the quickest thing that could get fixed and addressed would be the run game. If you can get the offensive line, even if they still struggle with some pass protection stuff, to be able to start springing Breece Hall loose again, which in and of itself, Breece Hall, that's a whole nother topic, right? Because we've seen him for 2 years now make something out of nothing consistently on much worse offensive lines. So that's not an excuse in and of itself. But if we can figure out a way to get Breece Hall going, get Braylon Allen, after a bad week, back on track, that'll solve a lot of things in of itself. So let's see what he has, but let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.